Alright, so I figured I'd treat myself to an easy video this week and just address the confusion in the comments section on the last video. I did a lot of different prints with the H2D, testing different settings and material combinations across different types of models, but I didn't really get into the weeds of all that, and I just focused on the overall experience I had, which was that printing with dedicated support materials on this new Bambu Lab printer is a tenuous affair with a high chance of print failure. Also, I am waiting for Bambu Lab to respond. I've sent them the 3MF files and machine logs, so whatever they come back to me with, I'll pin it down below. But first, do us a favor, would you? Hit that subscribe button down below. I'm trying to hit that milestone of 100k subs, and it's also just a great way to tell YouTube that you want more 3D printer content in your life.
You should try a 0.4mm nozzle.
Okay, so one of the main points of confusion I saw in the comments was about the size nozzles that I was using, so let me clear that one up first. This one's totally my fault. Like, I made a big point about how I wanted to print minis with 0.2mm nozzles and never actually explicitly stated that everything I tested with the 0.2mm nozzles, I also had tried with the 0.4mm nozzles. This big robot guy by C Cohort with the failed butt chainsword, that was with the 0.4mm nozzles, for example. And in fact, most of the tests I did actually were using the 0.4mm nozzles, because I went and printed a bunch of simple test models in PLA, as well as a bunch of what I would consider pretty typical practical 3D prints, a bunch of parts for a Sovol Zero, which I did in PETG, or rather, I tried to print a bunch of parts for a Sovol Zero in PETG, but my failure rate was super high, and that was using PLA for the support material, and 0 top Z distance and 0 top interference spacing, which leads me to the next thing that folks seemed to want some clarification on. Had I set these values to 0? And yes, I had, because when you choose support materials in the slicer for your interface layers, in the latest Bambu Studio, you actually get a pop-up recommending a bunch of these settings adjustments, including setting both top Z distance and top interface spacing to 0. There were a couple of instances when that didn't happen, like when choosing PETG as a support material for PLA or vice versa. However, I was aware that I needed to make those changes, and so I just did them manually.
Why are you printing miniatures? You should just be using a resin printer for that.
Alright, so I think this one was by far and away the most common point of confusion I saw in the comments, and I could do a whole video on this, and in fact I probably will soon. This is pretty cool because it means I've reached a wider audience of FDM printers who aren't aware of what the miniatures crowd have been up to, so allow me to bring you some exciting news. FDM printers are bloody good at printing miniatures now, like shockingly good. I've been doing a whole series of videos on it, and I recommend checking those out if you're curious to know more. Now, technically filament printers have been capable of this for a while. People have been wrangling their old enders into doing it for years, but since the A1 and A1 Mini dropped with those easy swap 0.2mm nozzles, it's never been easier for the average Joe to just pick up a new printer and start printing some great table-ready minis right away with no prior 3D printing experience. Plug and play in the truest sense of the meaning. And even though it has its downsides compared to resin, it's not as sharp and it's definitely not as fast. A large part of it simply comes down to the fact that folks really just don't want to or cannot deal with resin. It's toxic, it's hard to handle, requires lots of PPE and very careful process, lots of dedicated space too, and even additional machines if you want to do it optimally. So now that we have this easy plug and play alternative that produces results reliably and easily at a level of quality that's just simply good enough for most folks, FDM printers have become a fantastic option for tabletop gamers looking to step into the world of 3D printing.
Why the purge blocks? You're wasting so much time.
Okay, interesting. I did say this in the video that all the filament, print profile, and support settings were the default settings provided by Bambu Lab. So if Bambu Lab thinks that these prints need those towers, then so be it. My thinking is they designed the thing, they've tuned all these settings to give their users that plug and play Bambu Lab experience, so therefore these towers must be there for an important reason. I don't presume to know better, but if you're happy to deviate from the defaults, all the power to you. Even though I personally don't like digging into FDM settings, I like that Bambu Lab printers give you that freedom, unlike some companies in the 3D printer market. Looking at you, Hey Gears. So that's pretty much all the things I saw people confused over, and hopefully that's helped to clarify those. Unfortunately, I saw a handful of comments from other new H2D owners sharing similar experiences when trying to use support materials, so we can probably rule out my printer from having something wrong with it, although I did just get this comment from Mr. Snazzy Labs, who thinks it could be a quality control hardware problem with mine, but I literally just got that an hour ago, so I haven't had time to look into that yet. Maybe I'll make a short about it. I did also see a couple of other comments from people who have put in the hours to tune their settings and are now printing reliably, but there was at least one or two who have not had any problems at all, so that's good to know at least. I also saw a couple of Prusa XL owners who have also had struggles printing support materials reliably without any extensive tuning, so maybe it's just the nature of the beast, but in any case, I'm really hopeful it's just down to the print profiles provided by Bamboo Lab. And so to finish up now, I did see some comments saying that I should probably have used entirely Bamboo Lab filaments. So, alright, yeah, fair enough. Let's give that a go. I've got some Bamboo Lab PETG high flow and some Bamboo Lab matte PLA here. Let's run a few more tests real quick and see if things improve. But first, please allow me to pay my bills real quick. Once in a Six Side members this month get to enjoy an awesome collection of tabletop miniatures and terrain, all generously contributed by the very talented Arcane Whiskers, C Cohort, Daka Store, FabricatorsLair, Goetia Miniatures, Stoneforge, and Tractor Miniatures. So hurry, come get these files before they're gone, become a member through Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, or even right here through YouTube. Thank you, and I'll see you in the Discord. And just quickly, one of our glorious benefactors this month, FabricatorsLair, is running their Epic Sector Industry campaign on Kickstarter. A 3D printable, grimdark, industrial, epic scale terrain kit for games like Legion Imperialis, Adeptus Titanicus, or even Epic 40K. FabricatorsLair makes some damn good shit, so go check it out. Unfortunately, switching to Bamboo Lab filaments has not seemed to improve things here at all. I am using the 0.4mm nozzles that came with the printer here, and the model is what I would consider a prime use case for this style of printing. You've got some broad flat surfaces here at steep overhangs. Like, if that's not the best time to use a dedicated support material, I don't know what is. And as you can see, this print has sadly failed, which, God, for me at this point is not surprising. It's a perfectly symmetrical part, and on one side you can see it's doing pretty well and printing great, but yeah, that other one has just unfortunately started to lift and has ruined the print. I also ran off another one of those basic overhang tests, and this print did succeed, but also kind of didn't, because frankly it turned out a bit shit. I feel like most people would probably not be happy with that result and would reprint it. Finally, I just ran off another of the Sovol parts that had previously also given me issues, and initially it looked like 2 or 3 little bits had failed to stick and had ended up on the bed, but I think I did get a successful print here in the end, as these 2 filaments do seem to be sticking together a bit better than the other PETG, but I just snapped off those 2 small pieces on the back there. Whoops. Okay, well, that's all I've got time for right now. I'm still not feeling super confident about this combo, but it is possibly a slight improvement. So, okay, thanks for watching. Subscribe and follow me on Patreon. Apparently the way I pronounce H2D is highly upsetting for some folks, which is pretty funny. I'll have to keep that one in my back pocket, along with dousing minis in speed paint straight from the bottle and cutting towards myself.